Hello, my beautiful friends. Welcome to Proper Madness, formerly Beautifully Broken. My name is Sabby, and I give a unique perspective on mental health by providing tools, guidance, and knowledge on how we can better understand ourselves, as well as our past and present experiences, and in doing so, we can help heal our mental health. I get to speak with a variety of individuals from around the world as they share their stories from their journey through their mental wellness so that it helps others stand strong and use their voice. Welcome back, everyone, to Beautifully Broken. Today, I get to sit down with Hollie, who I met. She's in the UK. I met her on Instagram. We connected through mental health and Instagram posts, and I thought it'd be really fun for her to come on here and talk about her journey.
Hello, everyone. I'm Hollie. I'm from London in the UK. I've been on Instagram doing poetry now just before Christmas time. I've been writing for quite some time now, but I've never really showed my work or shared it with anybody apart from a couple of people in my family. So it's just basically really helped me find my voice, I would say. Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. It's given me a platform to release my feelings and be able to speak that I can't say to people face to face.
Have you always been a writer? Is that something you've always...
No, not really. I was really bad at English at school.
Me too.
which is quite not, it's quite funny actually, because I love writing now, and sometimes I read my stuff back and I find it really weird that it's actually me that's written that. Mm-hmm. But I've only really, I'd say, been writing for maybe around about 4 years, I'd say. Yeah, following on from having some counselling, it kind of brought something out of me that I wasn't aware I had in me, really.
That's really cool. I like that. Yeah, I was the same. In English, I would, like, in school, I was awful in school with English, and then I was like terrible, and then same thing. And one day just got into it, and it's weird when you read your stuff back. You go, oh, I wrote that. Wow.
Yeah, that's definitely.
Like, you're like, wow, that's brilliant. How did I come up with that?
Yeah, it was really weird because one of my my very good counsellor that I've had, she's been my counsellor for about 4 years now, and she showed me one of my first, well, she didn't show me it, she read out a poem to me, and it was so powerful it actually brought me to tears.
Oh wow.
And I was like, oh my god, this poem's absolutely brilliant, I can relate to it so much. And she was like, Hollie, that's you wrote this during our first session together. I was like, no, I did not. There's no way I wrote that. And I had to get her to send it to me because I didn't quite believe her. And then I could see what I did with some of my emojis at the bottom. And instead of putting like I want to, I used the words wanna, and that's when I knew it was me. So that was a real eye opener for me. It was quite it was really good, actually. I brought myself to tears in a good way.
So mental health wise, what do you struggle with? What is it? Depression, anxiety?
No, I haven't actually. Well, not depression as such. I've had anxiety, I'd say probably most of my life. And I do suffer with PTSD as well. I'd say the last few years, they have said that I do suffer with health anxiety as well. And with this COVID situation, did definitely make it 100% worse. And I also suffer with sleeping problems as well. Although they haven't been too bad since I've been having counselling, that has definitely helped.
That's good. That's good. So you struggle with anxiety your whole life. Was it something that you've learned to cope with? You have certain coping mechanisms that help, or what do you?
I have learned. I mean, over the years, I'd say during my teenage years, I didn't really know how to handle the feelings that I had. So I probably was very in your face, a little bit destructive, really wanting everybody's attention. I'm so not like that now. I'm quite shy, really. But I just kind of was maybe a little bit wild, a bit naughty at school because I just wanted people to notice me. because I didn't know how to cope with the feelings that I had, I suppose.
Yeah.
And it was only really till I got into my adult years that I knew I had to do something about it.
Mm-hmm. What was
Yeah,
the
for
turning?
sure.
Yeah. What was the turning point for you when you said, okay, I want to talk to someone and get this sorted?
I think it was sort of after I had my second child. I remember sitting in my kitchen and I just always felt on edge, and I just felt like I can't keep feeling scared. I just constantly felt scared all the time. And I found it really hard to be alone as well. It kind of just came out of nowhere, although it hadn't, because I'd always had underlying anxiety problems.
Yeah.
I think it kind of just exploded where I was just like, I need to find help. I need to speak to somebody. Yeah.
And how has it been? How's that process like? Because I know a lot of people are scared to go get help and talk to someone about it.
It is. I mean, I did have counselling when I was a teenager because I did obviously have quite a big childhood trauma. So obviously my parents had to kind of help me go through that. But I just wasn't mentally ready to talk, I suppose. So I pushed literally everything away, got on with my life, had my children. And then I think the overwhelming, I need to protect my children. I need to keep them safe. I don't want them to experience the things that I had to experience.
Yeah.
And I think that's when I just popped basically and just knew I had to get help. Yeah. And I'm so pleased I did, because it's changed my life.
What's the shift that you've noticed?
Well, I am a little bit weird, but I've always thought that I was this like really weird person, don't sleep, and I'm scared of absolutely everything. And I just couldn't really understand why I was the way I was, I suppose. And now I've met such a fantastic counsellor, and she's really helped me like identify who I am, and I don't feel so weird now, to be honest with you.
No, that's cool. Like it's like diving into self-awareness. And like really discovering yourself. Yeah.
And I'm so blessed. And it was very intensive. It was very hard. It was very intrusive. It was completely overwhelming going through all the sessions, and very draining actually. But it helped me process the feelings that I'd obviously buried and just pushed away, really.
Yeah. How is that process for you to like process your feelings? I think for everyone it's different.
I mean, I'm a lot more vocal now. I don't try to hide how I feel.
Yeah.
Because it was always easier just to say that I was fine, I suppose.
Yeah.
And meeting with my counsellor, she just kind of made me realise that it's okay to not be okay. And just not bottling it all up and just releasing it in a positive way, really, rather than sort of negative or anything.
And for you, that release is through writing and poetry?
Yeah, I absolutely love it. It was actually my uncle. He was the first person I ever shared any of my poetry with, because the poems at first were quite raw and talking about my past in quite an intense way. Yeah. So I didn't really want to show my parents because I knew they'd be quite triggered themselves. So I shared it with a really close uncle of mine, and I think I just blew him away. He was like, "Oh, Hollie, you actually are quite clever. You can write." So thanks. And he really inspired me so much to share my stuff. He used to say, "Oh, you could write a book, and you're so good at reflecting." And it just gave me the confidence to kind of be like, "Yeah, this is really good. I'm proud of what I've produced." Really, yeah. It just gets it out of your head, and it just makes you get. I don't know. I can't really explain it until you've obviously yourself. It's just you get it out on paper, and it's out of your head, and it's so much more positive. So it's brilliant.
Do you feel that you kind of figure things out as you write them sometimes, or?
Yeah, or I start writing about something, and then my mind takes me to a totally different place that I wasn't kind of expecting to go.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't realise I had that swimming around in my head. Can you just be casually walking? Yeah.
Can you give an example of like when that happened?
I think mostly when I've not been able to sleep at night.
Yeah.
Instead of sort of just lying there in bed, just getting really stressed that I can't switch off, I'd get up and journal, write in my journal.
Mhm.
I tend to like writing and doodling, so that would really, really help me. And then I could kind of like process what I'd actually experienced.
Mhm.
Or it could be just like when you're out for a walk, you just like, oh, I've got an idea, I just need to write that down. And then
Yeah.
the rest is, it just flows, and
Yeah.
it's amazing.
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
like that. How do you find time to balance your mental health while, being a mom and having kids?
I suppose you do some element, you do put on a bit of a mask, I
Mhm.
suppose, because my priority first is obviously my children, but then
Mhm.
also I have to be well as well to enable me to be the best mum that I can be as well.
Yeah.
So that's really, really important. Self-care has been something that I've had to work on.
Yeah.
And it's not just about lying in your bed watching a bit of Netflix. It's been like making some time for me to either write, or I love meditating. That's been something that
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed doing, because I'm such a massive overthinker. So it's kind of just takes me out of that sort of like crazy mind, I suppose, and it just helps me settle.
Yeah.
So I just try and make sure that I at least, even just 5 minutes a day, just
Mhm.
to try and ground myself.
Like shut
Yeah.
down, like the
Yeah.
constant buzz in your head that you have to learn to.
Yeah, I know that's like, so it's just so important, and it just helps me function a
Mhm.
lot better as well. So
Yeah.
I just have to say to myself, come on, Hollie, you need to take 5 minutes. I tell you what I have been doing during lockdown. I'm very blessed that we have a driveway.
Hmm.
And whenever I've needed to take 5 minutes to regroup, I've just go and sit outside in my car, put the music on, try not to flatten my battery. And it's become my like safe space. It's been so much fun.
Oh, that's cool. I like that. Yeah.
No, it's been really good, because like I can still be somewhere safe,
Mhm.
still be obviously near home, and I get to see what's going on with the world as well. So
Yeah.
it's been quite good for me,
I
actually.
like that. So has
Yeah,
lockdown made your anxiety, well, I'm sure with the health
yeah,
anxiety, how have you
yeah.
tried to push through that and overcome it?
It's been quite challenging because I'm a nurse as well. So
Mhm.
um, a nurse with health anxiety. Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's me. But it, I think when it first happened, when COVID started to become very real, and we was all sort of like stay at home, you couldn't go out and see your friends and family. I found that incredibly triggering. I found it very isolating, because I love to be near people.
Mhm.
So it has been quite hard. I think again, it's just been speaking, and just talking out, and just trying to use other ways of keeping in touch with your family and friends has been really good for me.
Yeah.
And I did recognize that I could relapse with my anxiety, so I did reach out to my counselor, and I ended up having quite a few sessions with her sort of at the start of the pandemic.
Oh, that's smart. Yeah. What's
Yeah, I
your
could just feel that I probably need a little bit of support.
I think you kind of have that tickle in the back of your brain when you
Yeah.
know that you're like, something's coming back.
Yeah, I just could
Um,
just feel that I probably could just do with just speaking to somebody about how I was feeling,
yeah.
because obviously isolation is a really big trigger of mine, because I've
Mhm.
kind of felt like that a lot ever since I was younger. So I always had that sort of motto that I felt quite trapped.
Yeah.
And I remember saying that to my counsellor, I'm feeling really, really trapped. I feel like I'm suffocating. And then she said to me, well, you're not trapped. You could open your front door. Okay, you can't go very far, but you aren't trapped. And it kind of then made me think to myself, I'm not trapped, I'm safe. I've got a nice safe home, and I'm inside it, and I'm not trapped. Home is a safe
Exactly.
place for me. But I just needed somebody to kind of my dialogue needed to change.
Mhm.
So it wasn't me saying I'm trapped. I just was safe at home. I could leave if I wanted to. And it just straight away made me feel a lot less anxious.
Oh, good. That's good. Yeah. I
Yeah.
know there's quite a
Yeah.
few people I've talked to with their anxiety with this, and the same thing. They feel trapped or overwhelmed,
Yeah.
or the
Yeah.
opposite. They just don't want to leave because they're scared of like what's out there.
Yeah, of course.
With your PTSD,
Yeah. I mean, I did suffer with abuse as a child.
Okay.
And unfortunately, I suppose it kind of put me on probably, like I said, quite a destructive pathway. That I ended up going into in a very abusive relationship as an adult. And that kind of, the two together, I suppose, probably didn't really mash well together. But yeah, so it's just been quite an ongoing, long, I suppose, journey. But I think that's why it's been really good for me to sort of speak out and find that voice, and not just always be quiet and be told that things have to be brushed under the carpet and just get on with life, I suppose. So been a bit tricky, but
100%. I feel like a lot of people minimize sometimes the traumas that they go through because they're like, oh no, it's fine.
I did for a long time. I did for a really long time, because I had some really close friends and they used to say, why don't you drink? Why don't you do this? Do you not want to try and block out the things that you've gone through?
Yeah.
And I used to be like, yeah, but I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine. And then I think obviously after having my children, all of a sudden it was like in my face that sort of the traumas that I'd gone through, I wasn't fine. And I needed to kind of start my process of healing, I suppose. Yeah.
The process of healing is difficult. I feel like a lot of people think it's linear, and it's like, no, it's very
very up and down.
Yeah.
And sometimes I've also accepted that sometimes I can have I don't like saying the word bad. I've tried to reframe how I speak to myself, like maybe a bit of a blip day, it's not been that great, but it doesn't mean the next day is going to be bad.
Yeah.
So I just try and sort of say that to myself, and I think that's really helped me as well.
But for PTSD healing, is it a lot of, for me, I did hypnotherapy and then a lot of journaling.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was definitely journaling. I had, someone did ask me to do a bit of hypnotherapy, but I was a little bit, I think I'm going to be honest, I was a little bit afraid. I was like, oh no, I don't want to go back.
No, because with PTSD, I'm sure you have a lot of regressed memories and memory gaps.
Yes, definitely.
Like even still, I still have things that, like if I'm going through a traumatic or stressful time, there's a lot I won't remember. And it messes with you because you're going, oh, I really don't remember any of that. And then the hypnotherapy or even just journaling sometimes will bring it back so you can deal with it, but it's very scary. Have you ever had like any memories come back with your PTSD?
I describe it as like looking at a photograph in a way, like a snapshot of I could be doing absolutely anything, and sort of like a sensation or a flash of maybe a conversation or a feeling can just literally take over your body, or even like a smell, like a certain smell can take me back. And it's like how I describe it is your body is taken back to that feeling of when that trauma happens. So it can be quite confusing. And I think it's just about making sure that you're aware that you are safe, that you're not under any threat, you're safe and it's okay. So that can be quite traumatic. It can be quite traumatic. And especially when you try and sleep because I used to suffer a lot with nightmares as well. And I don't know if you've ever heard of sleep paralysis. Oh gosh, that's just awful.
It's terrifying.
It's just not fun at all.
I watch too many like ghost things so that when that happens, I'm like, oh no.
It's not let's just say it's a little bit entertaining, but again it's just having to just remind yourself that you are safe. And so it's just working through, I suppose. And I think where I've had counselling, it was quite hard because it brought up conversations and situations I had forgotten. And it kind of then made me think, well, wow, that really did happen, and that person knew and maybe didn't do anything. And that was quite hard for me because it was kind of, revisiting that betrayal and that broken trust with people that are meant to love me and protect me. So I think that was definitely quite tricky. And like you said earlier, like if I do have like a traumatic experience, like now I sometimes get taken back to being that vulnerable child, I suppose. So it's just about just regrounding myself, really.
I think that's key. When you get triggered. Like
Yes.
for me currently, this month, like springtime for me is around my birthday is very triggering, just because that's when all my stuff happened.
Yes.
So I feel it, and then I feel the triggers, but it's funny. It's like I'll feel emotions, but they're not attached to anything. And so my brain, it's like your brain tries
doesn't
to
know what to
out.
do.
I'm like, why am I like, why do I have so much anxiety today? Why do I feel on edge and paranoid? And nothing's happened. I may just be sitting in my bed watching Netflix.
We're just making a cup of tea, like just doing something really normal, because I'm the same. I find my birthday and Christmas quite challenging because again, that's sort of a time that I probably struggled quite a bit. And it's like as soon as December starts coming around, it's like, oh, it's December. And it's kind of like you're just kind of not trusting that time of the year. And then again, it's like I said to myself, your birthday is your birthday. I don't need to fear your birthday. You can still experience, I mean, I try not to have a big deal for my birthday because I know it can be quite triggering. But the last few years, I've really embraced it in a different way. Like I don't hate the day as much because it is just a day.
Exactly.
So, and that day hasn't done anything wrong to me. It's not the day's fault.
No, that's so true. The exact same. I'm glad. Not glad, but I feel less alone with you saying that too, because everyone's always like, "Oh, don't you like your birthday?" Like, I like it. I don't know, just this time frame, I'm a little bit more on edge. And I tend to retreat too. I actually literally just found out I have, do you know what attachment styles are? Like avoidant, anxious? I just found out I have an avoidant attachment style and I had no idea. I just shut down. I go, I don't, like I'll hyper criticize someone to push them away, or I just won't completely let them in. And I found like a parallel to this time. And then the avoidance, and I was like,
it makes more sense, doesn't it? I suppose. It's just, I think it's just not a learned behavior, but your body just knows that there's something not quite right. And it's like it goes back into that habit of either feeling scared or vulnerable and not knowing what's going to happen next. So it's kind of on guard all the time. Definitely.
Like you think something like yesterday. This is so silly. Yesterday I went on a date, and and I had been stood up on my birthday previously. And so I was paranoid that this guy was going to just randomly cancel on me, and so I'm like sitting there going, why am I'm like, I don't understand. He's giving me no sign that this is going to happen. You're just expecting, you're so you're just sort of like expecting it to happen to you. Do you have any moments like that where you're kind of you get triggered and your body's expecting something and you kind of have to
or kind of I used to have this feeling where I would just sit, I could be absolutely fine and be like, I'm really worried, I had just pure worry in my body. And everyone around me used to be like, what's the matter? And I used to say, I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I feel there's this kind of impending doom that's going to, like, when's the next big drama going to play in my life? So I used to sort of like sit and wait for it to happen.
Exactly.
Which is really stressful and quite draining. It's a little bit like worries. So I always used to have, I didn't realise this till again counselling, that a lot of my worries were like, what if this happens? And then my counsellor turned around and said, but what if not? What if it doesn't happen? And I was like, hey, why did you just say that? I said, but yes, it could still happen. It could happen. And then if it does happen, you'll learn to deal with it. You'll have a strategy that you can you can deal with that situation. But 9 out of 10, it's probably not going to happen, Holly.
Yeah.
So that's something that I've definitely improved on, for
That's
sure.
Good.
Don't get me wrong, I still worry all the time. It's like my middle name. But I try and look at my worries and think, do I really need to worry about you? Or are you just a little story that I've invented in my head?
Yeah, no, I think, and I think as a trauma response, we do that so we don't, like, we almost like we can plan ahead so that we don't have to go through it again. Yeah.
Yeah, like even plan a conversation or plan a situation or anything, because you try and be that one step ahead, because you know that how will I handle it if I don't know how to be in control?
Yeah.
Because it's about, for me, a lot about trying to be in control of a situation.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. It's like a survival mechanism, because you're so used to trying to survive. You're going, all right, okay, if I just know how this is going to play out, then I can get ahead of it and I feel better. I have the same thing, control. I used to try to control, sounds weird, indirectly control the people around me. So that I could better control situations, and that's not effective.
No, it's not. No. Again,
No.
I do. I can totally relate to that as well, because you just, it's just difficult, isn't it? Because you like that. I find I can't tolerate uncertainty that well. So that's something, again, that I just need to really work on. It's a work in progress.
It is. I think, like everyone thinks that once you're healed, you're healed. No, it doesn't stop. It never ends. You still have to get through it. You just have to take your toolbox out whenever you need it.
Yeah, totally. And like we said earlier, gonna get days that don't feel so great, or you feel more vulnerable and quite anxious, but then the next day the sun starts to shine and you feel okay.
Yeah, exactly. Like today's one of my off, sort of like a little bit of an off day, and then but like the next day I'll probably wake up and be like, okay, I'm a boss now, I'm good, I'm fine,
I've got this. It's like I say to myself, I'm like, Holly, you got this. You're okay. You're safe. Let's do this.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I started looking at myself in the mirror and doing stuff like that recently.
Yeah, it's just like learning to love the skin you're in as well. Like you can do it. You're a lot stronger than you think you really are. Exactly. And I think that's kind of gives me a bit of positivity, and it gets me going. And I like things will be okay.
So the last question I have is, if anyone's listening that has resonated with anything that you've said or been through, what would you say to them?
I just think that it's never too late to get help, because I kind of signed to myself that I'm never going to get better. I can't speak about the things that have been basically my demons for my whole life. And you can find your voice, and once you do, it feels so much better. It won't feel great at first. It can be really overwhelming and incredibly challenging. And sometimes you can feel a bit worse at the start, I feel, because you're working through stuff that you've probably shoved away somewhere, and you feel so much more free. I feel so free. I feel that I've been able to let go of somebody else's shame as well. I'm not tied to that shame anymore, which is great. I'm Holly and I'm nobody else's.
I love that.
So it's really good.
Separating yourself from what you've been through.
I'm not my trauma, I'm Holly. So and I think it's been really good for me, because I'm going to get days that I am remembered by it, or reminded of it, and that's going to be hard, but I'm a lot stronger than I ever thought I was. So that's good. And like I said, writing, if I've got a thing in my head, I just write it out and I feel so much better.
Oh, good. Good.
I think that the message that I definitely would love to say is that it's just not too late to speak out. It really isn't.
That's good. I appreciate you coming on here. This is really
thank you for asking me. That's been good. I've enjoyed it.
The time literally just like flew by. It did completely lost track.
Well, obviously, I'm Hollie 4523 Poetry, And I like to think that my poetry is not just dark, it's about survival, hope, has got a little bit of heartbreak and trauma, but most importantly, it's about finding my voice.
Thank you so much for listening, and remember, you have to go through the eye of the storm to see the clear horizon ahead. Thanks so much, guys, and I'll see you next week.